Yep.
Time to share. Wait,
There we go.
Yeah, and here we go. We're not allowing me to
Response checking.
to share. Okay. Okay. Hey, group.
Some people gonna be like, "Why is this? I don't care.
Why is what?
Why is this on my page? I don't care. Take it off if you don't like it."
Exactly. Let's just share. We're sharing and sharing. This is important, so we're gonna share the hell out of it.
Okay.
I don't know. You done?
Almost. Got
Okay.
mine. Yep, I'm done. I'm good.
And then I got a couple more.
I am good.
I got just two more.
What's up, peoples?
How you
Want
doing,
to check in?
everybody?
Want to check in?
Folks, if you're watching this, time to share. Share this. It's gonna be an important show. You good? I don't hear you.
I was chewing.
There.
What's up, Booker?
All right. And we are
Pop
on.
in. What we doing? Let's get started.
3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody?
What's good, peoples? What's good, peoples?
Welcome to another Two Trunks of Misfits show.
Yep.
Today is our 113th show, and it's a quite important one, folks. You want to make sure you watch this, and please, we ask you to share it, share the heck out of this, because this next show is going to be as important as the previous one that we had prior, which we'll talk about later. We're going to talk about the Delta variant, and we have a doctor in the house.
Yep.
And
he's going to be joining us, and you guys can be able to ask him questions in your comments, or if you want to join us live. So we're going to get into it. You ready, Pete?
We should post this picture real quick so we could use it as a, you know what I'm saying?
So we're going to have Dr. Siyab.
Siyab.
Indeed. He's going to be joining us today. So get your questions ready and pass it on. Let people know. Come join us.
Yeah, we'll just giving everybody a chance to come on in. If you have any questions regarding the Delta variant, get
Now's
ready.
the time. Get it ready.
When we ask you, you can start posting them, and we can read them off to him. Okay. And that's about it. Do we get started with this, Blunt?
Let's get started. Ready?
I'm ready. All right. So since the doctor's not going to have too much time to be on, we don't want to take too much of his time. But there's something we do every week, and we start a little celebration with the birthdays. So let's get right through it. And remember, the doctor's coming in right after that. Blunt, let's start some celebrations.
All right, you ready? Let's go.
Ready?
NBP.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. We go from Dr. Birthday. Happy birthday, it's your birthday, go home, it's your birthday, go home, it's your birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. You know we from Dr. Birthday. It's your birthday, go home, it's your birthday, go home, it's your birthday, go home, it's your birthday, go.
All right. So who we got here who's celebrating birthdays this week? We got Frank de Jesus. Happy birthday to Frank de Jesus. Kev Johnson, happy birthday, brother. Many more. Our buddy, Jay Will Holla. Blunt,
Happy
Jay
birthday,
Will
Jay.
Holla.
Happy birthday, bitch.
Happy birthday. Also, Naomi Ann celebrating a birthday this week. Happy birthday to you. And today, celebrating today, we got Michael Sanwa. You remember Michael Sanwa, right?
Yep.
And a special birthday in heaven to our buddy from Jackie Gleason. Michael McGriff, also known as Mike, doing it solo.
Wow.
Birthday
Happy
in
birthday,
heaven.
bro.
Yes, sir. Rest in peace, brother.
Mhm.
And if you celebrating your birthday today with celebrities that are celebrating the birthday, we got Danny Glover, 74, David Spade, 56, and John Leguizamo turned 60. Those are the birthdays for this week, folks. Remember, if you want to get your shout out on our show, send us an email to twotransitmisfits.
.com.
You don't let me finish. Twotransitmisfits at gmail.
.com.
I will make sure to give you that. That. Also, Blunt already beat me to it. Don't forget, folks, hats are still up. We got our logo, Two Trans and Misfit trucker hat, $18, and we mail it right to you. Okay? So all you got to do is, again, hit us in the email that you're interested in getting a cap, and we'll get it out to you ASAP. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Especially if you're new, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Two Trans and Misfits, where you can see all our shows are posted. Our live shows are there. So if you miss any, you can get them there. If you want to watch us live right there, you don't have Facebook, you can watch it right on YouTube. And, of course, Facebook. All right, guys. So without further ado, what you guys been waiting for, we're going to have a Q&A and get some information, important information from our doctor. And without further ado, Dr. Siyab.
Welcome to the show. Ooh.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Our pleasure, bro. Our pleasure.
So, if in a what do you call it? A nutshell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in a nutshell, if you could tell us what you do, what you are, real quick, from where you come from, and then we just get right to it.
Yeah. Hey everybody, my name is Siyab. I'm a physician. I'm a board certified internist. You can look me up on the internet. I'm legitimate, and a cardiology doctor. I live in the southern United States. Been taking care of heart patients and general medicine patients for a long time, and been on the front lines with COVID-19 for the last year and a half. And I've really just been doing most of my vaccine advocacy, answering questions, fighting misinformation, which there's a lot of out there online on my TikTok mostly. I used to be on this app called Clubhouse. Some of y'all might know about it, but now I do it on TikTok. And you can. These guys are going to share my profile if you're interested. Yeah, no, the point. Just trying to get the word out there about vaccines and answer questions. And there's a lot of misconceptions, and just trying to do my part, to try to end this pandemic. So yeah, thanks for having me again, guys.
Great. Glad to have you. What got you into wanting to start this push to give out the information about the was it the Delta variant, or were you already doing this prior to the
Yeah,
Delta
no,
variant?
that's a great question. So I was already doing this, in the beginning of the pandemic. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of other physicians and nurses and healthcare workers that we saw what it was like. Back in February and March, we saw like what it did to people. And back then the conversation was people didn't want to lock down, right? People didn't want to take this seriously. people were like, oh, this is just the flu. And I'm like, no, it's not true. I mean, people are dying of this, right? You hear that 99% survival rate, which is this a misleading way of looking at this. But anyway, that back then, that was the fight. And we were trying to get people to stay at home because that was the only thing we had at that time, right? Lockdown, not even lockdown, just social distancing, trying to get people to stay away from each other so we can prevent it from spreading. And then now the vaccines have come out. And I wasn't really, I've done some news articles and stuff, but I got on TikTok a few months ago. It was, for me, it was a joke because it was like, for me, it was just something to, blow off steam, just take it easy, have some fun with it, make some funny videos, whatever. And then I kind of got pulled into COVID-19 because I made a video about how ridiculous I thought like hardcore anti-vaxxers are, with their conspiracies and just scientific disinformation. And that blew up. And then I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. I mean, because, I live in a, physicians sometimes live in a bubble because they only know, the people that they know. They're like preaching to the choir, right? If I tell people to get a vaccine physically, they'll probably go get it because they trust what I say. But outside that bubble, the world is very large. And I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of vaccine misinformation. And you could tell, I mean, that's how I got started. And even now, we're only 50% fully vaccinated, right? In the country. And
50.
That's a lot of millions of people that could be vaccinated. Last I checked, 100 million people had not even gotten their first shot. That's a lot of people, right? So, yeah.
But can you blame them though can you blame them when they're listening to all this BS?
No. So I'm glad you brought that up. So a lot of the general public, they're not medically trained or medically knowledgeable, and don't have to be, right? There's no why would you be? And unfortunately, we get, all of us, including myself, we are influenced by what we watch on the news. We are influenced by what we watch on YouTube. I mean, this is including myself. And and then the whole politicization of this whole virus and vaccine is a whole different story. But I don't blame them. I think a lot of people are vaccine hesitant. Which means to me that people have legitimate questions about the vaccine, and it's okay to have questions like why was this developed so fast, right?
Vaccines that's like I think that's like the number one thing that scares everybody.
Right, and that's fair. The people are like, well, normally vaccines take 10 years to develop. Why was this one developed so fast? What is mRNA? People don't understand that, and that's okay. I get it. Things like, what are the long-term side effects? How well does it work? Does it cause problems with infertility, et cetera? I mean, these are all very, very valid questions that people should be asking. But the thing with the vaccine hesitant folk is, they're open to having a conversation with you with an open mind, and then they make a decision whether or not to get the vaccine, and that's fine. I mean, again, I think it's a choice, and they make a decision. And those are the people that I am trying to reach to with my content. The problem is the anti-vax side, which is on purpose spreading disinformation and misinformation. We've talked about this, earlier, like the kind of crazy, scary videos you see, which are not true. They're all made up. They're spreading that in an effort to scare people away from getting a life-saving vaccine, right? So that is what I'm trying to fight. And they come up with, I've been doing this for 3 or 4 months now. I know every tactic, every single tactic. It's all, I can tell you that everything can be ripped apart with research. Okay, none of the claims that people make are backed by scientific research. Everything I say on my TikTok, you can go Google it and you'll see that it's true.
What would you say is the most? What would you say is the most?
Most common. The vaccines are experimental gene therapy. That what I say would be the most common one.
Gene therapy.
Yeah, none of that is true. So they say it's experimental, which is it's not. I mean, the trials for the 3 vaccines, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer, have combined had 100,000 people in them. I mean, for anybody in science, they know how big that number is, right? So they say, oh, the vaccines are still experimental. I mean, they're not. At this point, over 300 million doses have been given out. That's a lot of doses. I don't know if people understand how many doses 300 million doses is, right? Like, if you try to fathom that number, that's a lot of freaking doses. And then they say it's gene therapy, because they've read somewhere that mRNA is classified as gene therapy. But, People don't like, it's an easy tactic to scare people, right? Oh, experimental gene therapy, and you put those three words together in
Mhm.
a video with like scary music in the background. I mean, you can imagine how that would be misleading, right?
Along with population control.
Yeah, and then a Bill Gates quote taken out of context. I mean, all of
Exactly.
that shit.
Yeah.
So it's not gene therapy. It's not. I mean, it doesn't even get to your DNA. The DNA is in the nucleus of the cell. It doesn't even get to the DNA. It
Right.
doesn't change your genes. That's the reality.
Right.
And
From
that's
what I understand, it's DNA and then it's RNA and then it becomes like that. So
yeah.
even if
So
you affect the RNA, it can't go backwards to
it
affect your
can't. And
DNA. It only can go forward.
yeah, so it's like a house, right? And the house, and you have a safe in the house, right? And your DNA is stored in the safe in the house, right? And anytime you wanna, let's say you got a cookbook in there with your favorite recipe that you don't want to give to anybody, but you have copies you want to make. So you go into the safe, you write down a copy, make a copy of that cookbook on a piece of paper, and then you take it out of the safe. So that piece of paper is the mRNA, which is a messenger RNA, which you
Hmm.
take out and then you give to somebody else, like it's a messenger, right? So that's exactly what happens. The RNA, the vaccine gets into the cell, but it never gets into the safe, into the nucleus where the DNA is, and then it's destroyed. It's like you burning off that piece of paper; it's gone. So I also think that a lot of it is. I think uh, uh, this is a bigger issue of education and like basic scientific education, which I think is a big problem, I think. And it's not something that can be solved in like a day or so. It has to be. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I feel like people are influenced by like scary looking
By the
shit.
wrong people.
Yeah, by the wrong people. And I don't
By the
blame.
wrong people.
Honestly, I don't blame them. People are scared, right?
I
People
mean,
are
you don't
scared.
see
People are.
doctors on TV talking about this. That's another thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think.
Why don't they have, let's say, pharmaceutical have doctors like you're on right now, in maybe short programs or commercials talking about how important this is? Because like they'll hear the mayor or governor talking about it, and a lot of people are like, "Nah,
Yeah,
you're
but
talking
a lot of us
BS."
do it on social media on our own. Like I'm
Hmm.
part of a group of people, other physicians and nurses and healthcare workers that are like part of a coalition. If you follow, if you see some of my stuff, I duet and stitch people stuff from other people, and we support each other. But I don't blame people. Here's the thing: people that the regular Joe is afraid, right? They don't want to. I don't think anybody wants to like actively harm themselves, right? They don't want to like cause the harm to themselves or their family, and they're just trying to find what they think is something that's going to protect them. And unfortunately, sometimes they get influenced by the scare tactics and propaganda. And you guys know what I'm talking about.
Of
It's
course.
easy to get. And for me, I have to sometimes remind myself that I grew up in science, right? I practice science, and what is straightforward and what is easy for me, it may not be true for somebody else, right? Just like what you guys do, I couldn't do what you guys do, right? You guys could think that whatever parts of your job are easy for you, but
Hmm.
I would have no idea how to do them. So it's the same for me. So that's what I try to do in terms of education
Yeah,
and
just like
trying to get the word out. Right.
like sometimes with us, we'll have passengers telling us how to do our job.
Exactly. So it's
And
like
yeah,
somebody
like they
telling me how
basically,
to be
oh,
a doctor.
you're supposed to do this and this and this, and it's like, no, that's not how it is. That you're making up your rules which don't exist.
Right.
So it's like, unless you're like you, I can't tell you that you're right about certain things. That
Right.
you're a professional in your field. We're professionals in our field. You're a professional in our
Right.
field. So to question you, I mean, like, they always say we always have the right to a second opinion
Right.
of anything. But more than likely, when it comes to this, we'll go to get a second opinion. It'll be pretty much the same thing that you're telling us.
Right. And the other thing you asked, what is the other thing we hear all the time is, oh, we're not allowed to question anything. That's what people say. And I think that's a little disingenuous when that comes from a particular, like some, not everybody, some people, because listen, I just said, if you have legitimate questions, you should absolutely have a conversation, right? But you should be willing to respect my expertise in what I'm talking about, right? And then it's what happens sometimes. It's like me trying to ask you how your job works, and then I come back to you and be like, no, 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 you're wrong. That's not how this works. I read a manual from some other bus that tells me
Yeah.
this is how this part works, right?
Yeah, or
You know what I mean?
so and so told me this is how it is.
Exactly. So these questions, when they're asked in bad faith, that's a problem.
And it's
So
funny because people will rather believe the lies than truth for some reason, for the most part.
It's the same thing. People rather listen to a politician than listen to a scientist. I
yeah,
don't get
because
that.
politicians, like, the way these things are portrayed, they're exciting and they're scary and they're easy people. They're easy to believe. It's much better than me talking about. It's much more attractive than me talking about mRNA, which is boring, right? But that's what we try to do. I don't know. I think doctors have to embrace social media, honestly, because for a very long time we've been very sort of in our own little bubbles, and we've forgotten that most of the rest of the world is on social media, and you got to meet people where they are, and they are on platforms like Facebook and TikTok and Twitter.
Yeah, and I read a comment that you wrote somewhere where you said that TikTok is where the masses are right now, the
Yeah.
right place. It's like, because this is like what's growing right now. TikTok,
Mhm.
there's Twitter, there's not even Instagram. Like TikTok is right now big, and then that's where you find a lot of fake news. Is
Mhm.
they say.
Because it's so
Uh,
easy to go. I mean, it's so easy to put up a video and that video goes viral, and you cannot verify what's in there. So everything I talk about, I'll kid you not, I research hours, right? I look it up, I research, I make sure everything I'm putting out is accurate. And you can look up everything I say, to verify it for yourself. I tell people, don't trust me for what I'm saying, go look it up yourself, right? But then some random dude puts together a video and puts another subtitle, making it completely fake, saying, oh, this is vaccine injury, when it's not, and it's easy to put that together and then put it up there, and people will watch that and get scared. And the problem is, it's hard to combat that. It's hard to combat that as a medical professional, because then people are like, well, you think that what I'm going through is not real. And I'm not
what would you
saying
say?
what, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
What would you say about this story that's been going around a lot? And tell you the truth, my 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 kid's godfather went through this, and he told me it's true. It's true. The whole thing with the magnet.
This bullshit. It's bullshit.
He told me he had his sister was on video with him, watching them, and she put it on after the vaccine, and the magnet was staying there. But when she moved it a little lower, it would fall. I was like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "I was right on FaceTime with her just last night, and she was showing me how the magnet was sticking to her."
It's bullshit. I mean,
Yeah,
the vaccines are not magnetic.
I
Okay,
just
there's
kept
no
thinking she was probably leaning somehow where the magnet was
It's
just there.
very easy. Some people have sticky skin. If you haven't showered for 3 days, you'll have sticky, greasy skin, and it'll stick. And then you see people sticking shit that is non-magnetic, like
Mm.
keys and coins.
So
They
it
don't
can
stick.
it's not something that could happen with a vaccine at
There,
all.
it cannot, because there's nothing magnetic in the vaccine. And I've seen, and it first came up months ago, actually, and we debunked it multiple times, and now it's coming back up. It's not
Hmm.
magnetic. I mean, the thing is, all I can do is I can tell you that it's not magnetic, right? People believe what they want to believe, and that's fine. But
Tell them to do the experiment again, but put some baby powder right there.
that's
Watch,
that's also some,
watch
yeah,
it.
that's also something else. I mean, people blame, they're like, oh, Pfizer was sued 9 years ago for whatever, $2 billion, or J&J did this 9 years ago. Well, okay, I mean, I'm not defending them. I'm like, a lot of pharmaceutical companies have done bad shit, but like, it's the same thing for airplanes, right? Boeing gets sued. It doesn't mean you stop flying Boeing planes, right?
Mhm.
Car
Right,
makers get sued. Do you stop driving their cars? I mean, I think it's the same concept.
right.
You have to take each thing for its own individual value, I think, independent of other things. But it can get tough. It can get exhausting, guys, fighting all of this shit coming out and doing my day job. People
I
think
can
I'm
imagine.
paid. People think I'm paid off. That's like the best comeback that they
Really,
have. Mm,
Well,
yeah,
Big
yeah,
Pharma's paying you.
yeah. That's the other
but
one. That's
that's
the other
nothing
big one.
new. I mean, you should know that from even before
Yeah,
COVID. People. I used to have that same thought that doctors were in bed with big pharma myself,
yeah.
because every time I used to come to the doctor, they quick to throw a pill or something at you. Like, You don't have anything normal, like anything natural. No, they go straight for prescription. It's like, are you guys in bed with them or not? That's how I used to feel about
So I will
doctors.
say, there are bad apples everywhere, right? There are
Yeah, true, of
bad doctors.
course,
There are doctors
absolutely.
that do that shit. There are
Yeah,
absolutely. We shouldn't be. I mean, but
And there's been a lot of
unfortunately,
stories of doctors losing their license because of doing the wrong things and getting
yeah, and
caught.
because the whole opiate crisis, right? OxyContin, that whole thing with Purdue. I mean, there were physicians that were doing this shit, and it was a physician that
Yeah.
blew the lid, like blew the top off the lid, and whistle blew, and brought it all to light. But I think a few bad apples exist everywhere, and they give us a bad name. Unfortunately, it's the reality. I'm not going to deny that there's not doctors that do that. There are absolutely,
Now let
and there
me
have
ask
been
you something.
doctors. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Something else. As far as the Moderna, Pfizer, there was another one. I can't think
Johnson and
of it.
Johnson.
Johnson and Johnson. Are they all right now working against the Delta variant? Because I
Yeah. So
also
that's
hear different stories. I mean, I got the Pfizer, and I
yeah,
was hearing about that we might need a booster. But
yeah.
then I also heard that the Johnson and Johnson was the first one that showed scientifically proof that it fought the Delta variant.
Yeah.
But the other two also do it. Do you know if we actually
Yeah,
do
no,
need a booster?
that's a great question. So I'm going to answer this in a few ways. I want to talk about first the Delta variant and what it is, because I
exactly.
think there's a lot of
Please do.
confusion there too. So the Delta variant is a version of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Okay, that's the variant. And what happens is viruses will mutate naturally. That's all a virus wants to do is replicate and make more copies of itself, right? And once it starts replicating itself, and it makes errors in the copying process. It's like you're trying to copy an image, let's say 10,000 times. Over time, the quality of that copied image goes down, right? It's the same thing. So sometimes the mutations don't affect the virus in any way. Sometimes the mutation makes the virus weaker, and sometimes the mutation makes the virus stronger and makes it better able to replicate itself. So it starts to spread even further. And that's what brought up the Delta variant. Now, the scientific name for the Delta variant is the B16172 variant. That's the scientific name, but that's hard for people to remember and say. So now they call it the Delta variant. It's the Delta is because it's part of the WHO's classification of classifying these variants. You have alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, lambda, even. And so that's the Delta variant. The reason the Delta variant is a problem is because it spreads so fast. It literally was found in India. Just because it was found in India doesn't mean it originated in India. It could have started somewhere else. It was just found first in India. And, it overtook the population. Then it moved to the United Kingdom, where it took it 2 months to become the dominant variant. As in, by dominant, I mean causing the most number of cases. And then it was, detected in the United States a couple of months ago as well. And then in the last 3 months, it's now 83% of all new cases. 3 months to get that spread that far. So it really is a testimony to how fast it is spreading. And one of the myths that I'm hearing now is anti-vaxxers are trying to get people to think that, you don't have to worry about the Delta variant because it's a mutation of the virus, so it gets weaker. That's not true at all. A virus does not have to be stronger to kill more people if it can get to more people. That makes sense. And that's what the Delta variant is doing. It's getting to more people, especially as we open back up. We have huge events, concerts, outdoor things, rallies, et cetera, et cetera. It's easy for it to get to people. And the one thing about the Delta variant is there's a scientific study that came out last week, and I've talked about this on my TikTok, is that if people that have the Delta variant, they test positive earlier than if they had, the original virus, and they have up to 1,000 times more virus in their body than the other variants. So if you got the Delta variant and you're unvaccinated, not only do you have it earlier, because it means it's just replicating very fast, you also have 1,000 times more virus in your body. So you can imagine how easy it is for you to give it to somebody else, right? So that's that. In terms of how good the vaccines work, so the best data that we have, we had for a long time on the Delta variant was from the United Kingdom and from Israel, because these are two countries where the Delta variant was causing huge problems. And in England, they have AstraZeneca and they have Pfizer, right? And in Israel, they have Pfizer predominantly. And what they found was that if you were vaccinated with both doses of these vaccines, you had up to about a 65% protection against symptomatic COVID, meaning that you would have COVID and you would have symptoms. 65% protection. This is less than the original, the OG COVID, if you want to call it, which was 90%. It's just a little bit less. But here's the most important thing. It protected you from going to the hospital, getting COVID so bad that you had to go to the hospital, and protected you from dying. So it was more than 90% protection there. Because what we care about, if you get COVID and you can survive it at home, that's great, right? I mean, ideally, we wouldn't want you to get COVID, but if you're vaccinated, your risk of getting COVID, the Delta variant, is not only lower, your symptoms are also lower, like lesser. You don't have as bad symptoms, and you are less likely to transmit it to somebody else because your own COVID isn't as bad, and you have extremely good protection, like 90% plus, from going to the hospital. Because if you go to the hospital because of COVID, your chances of having complications, lung failure, your lungs can't breathe, so you have to go on the ventilator, your kidneys fail, your heart fails, etc. Those chances of complications of that is very high. So the vaccines protect against that. Absolutely, they do. There's a lot of misinformation going around. People say, you can still get COVID after the vaccine. I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have heard that, but I've been hearing that a lot. And that is misinformation because that's a very simplified and misleading way of looking at it, right? You can't just say that and stop there. You have to talk about what is the risk. If you're vaccinated, what is your risk of getting COVID, right? People don't tell you the numbers, the percentages, right? So your risk is very low. So let's say if it's 100 people that are vaccinated, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 might have infection. And out of those, none might be in the hospital. They're all recovering and at home. But in the unvaccinated, there might be a lot more infections, and there might be a lot more people in the hospital. And it's not just me saying that. We see this in the data, right? In May and June, 99% of people that died of COVID-19 were unvaccinated. 99.2%. Like that. I mean, that should tell you something, right? If you're dying of COVID, you're 99% unvaccinated. At hospitals across the country, more than 90% of people that are admitted with COVID-19 that are in the hospital are unvaccinated. And my sources are in my TikTok. I've talked about this a lot. So the vast majority, more than 95, 99% of people that are being affected by COVID-19 or dying from it are unvaccinated.
I also heard that they're younger also, that they're like teens.
So the Delta variant is now affecting the younger population. We used to think that COVID doesn't affect the young and healthy.
Right. In the beginning.
And that was a misconception from the very beginning, honestly, because I have seen several young and healthy people that got COVID-19 and were in the hospital and were on the ventilators. I like to say this: the COVID virus does not give a crap about how old you are, what your gender is, what your sex is, what your political affiliation is. It doesn't give a shit about any of that. If it can infect you and cause damage, it will do that. Okay, it doesn't care, right? So now we're seeing a lot more younger people being admitted with COVID-19. We saw this with Israel and the UK and Scotland a few months ago, that the Delta variant was affecting predominantly younger people. And that might be because a lot of the older population was vaccinated, right? So they had protection. So the virus now found its way to the younger people because as you guys know, vaccine hesitancy is very common in younger people. Young people don't want to get vaccinated because they think
they
all
hang together. They all
hang together. So in Scotland, there was a Euro 2020 match, that there were 1,000 cases of COVID-19 that were linked to people traveling from Scotland to London for this Euro 2020 soccer match. These are all 18 to 29-year-olds, 1,000 cases. And in Israel, the vast majority, there was in the outbreak in Israel, I think my data is a little outdated, but at some point, half of the cases were kids. So, and then we're seeing this in the United States. You can look it up. There are children in Mississippi in the ICU with COVID-19. Some of them are on ventilators. Arkansas kids are in the ICU. This is something that we didn't see last year, right? Or as much. The reality is, the COVID that we're dealing with now is much different than the COVID we were dealing with a year and a half ago. And people don't realize that because the science changes, right? Science is not static. It changes and you have to adapt to it. So the virus is changing, and it's showing us that it's changing. And a lot of people don't want to believe that, because then they're like, well, you said this last year and you're saying this now, so you're lying to us.
It's like they trying to do with Dr. Fauci in
Yeah,
the
and I'm like,
beginning.
dude,
That's
what
how
Fauci
science
did,
works.
and listen, Fauci is not perfect, by no means, but and the CDC is not perfect, but they made those decisions at that time based on the information
That
and
they
data
have.
available at that time, right?
Exactly.
And then when we had new science and research come in, they changed their minds. Changing your mind based on new data is not lying, right? It's called following the science, and that's what we're doing now. You know, so I think people really need to like understand that the science and data can change, and you have to be able to look at things objectively without bias. It's like being a trader, right? Stock trader. You have to be able to look at things objectively, because if you let your own emotions, you know, uh, blind you, that's a problem. But your question, the vaccines absolutely protect you against the Delta variant, and the data is for all of them. The Johnson and Johnson is a little bit complicated because it's only one shot, and it has less data than the others, the less science that comes out, but it is still protective. People that are worried can consider getting a mRNA dose. If you're worried, you got Johnson and Johnson, and you're worried, you can talk to your doctor and consider getting a Pfizer or Moderna shot. Um, but I mean, even with that, it protects you. And the thing with the boosters is Pfizer came out a few weeks ago saying that they're applying for a booster permit.
Yeah.
But I don't think we need a booster, and the CDC agrees, because if you're fully vaccinated, as in both doses of Pfizer, Moderna, or one of Johnson and Johnson, you have pretty good protection. The problem is the people around you, right? So if we need to get people vaccinated so the virus does not have a chance to spread in the population, right? And this is this is science, this has been shown in science. If you're vaccinated and you get infected, the virus reproduces way less in you, and it doesn't spread. It basically doesn't have a chance to replicate as much, because the vaccine gave your body immunity to fight it, right? It may not have prevented the infection, but it lessened it severely and prevented you from spreading it to somebody else, maybe. But if you're not vaccinated, it's like open season, right? For the virus to just replicate, and you give it to somebody else who gives it to somebody else. And we look at something called the R naught, which is it's like a number in epidemiology. It's a simplified way of looking at transmissibility. So like, how many people can one infected person potentially spread the virus to, right? So the most contagious virus we know so far is measles. One person, the R naught is 18, so one person can give it to 18 other people, and each of those 18 people give it to 18 other people, and you can imagine how fast it spreads. The R naught for influenza is about 1 to 2. The R naught for the original OG COVID was about 2 to 3. The one for Delta is anywhere from 6 to 8. So you can imagine it's about 2 or 3 times, 4 times even more transmissible than the original virus. And the biggest thing is human behavior, like how people act. So if like large numbers of people are gathering in, it's just in like events and shit and traveling and all of that, and they're not vaccinated, you can imagine how fast this can spread. And it's already happening. Like in Missouri, Louisiana, like big tourist spots, we're already seeing that this stuff is starting to head the wrong way, fortunately.
What do you? Go ahead, Bunk.
You got places like Texas and stuff like that where they're talking about mask mandates are no longer required, and you can go do what you want. Like everything is done. Like vaccine is all cured or whatever. And so those people
Yeah.
are just party hardy. People been so hell bent on getting out because they've been on lockdown that any little thing they're ready to just go and do. And it's just a shame. Like I was telling Pete and most of the fans that watch the show, when I go out, I mask up. I'm fully vaccinated. When I go out, I still mask up. Still
That's what I wanted to ask about the mask. How do you feel about that right now?
I think we should absolutely mask up. This is my opinion. The CDC
with us right here, with us is telling us that even if you are vaccinated in transit, they want you to wear your mask. Well, everywhere right now here in New York.
I think you should. I think the CDC dropped the ball.
Even if you're vaccinated.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Because then people take that and then they're like, well, if you're vaccinated, why do you need to wear a mask? You'll hear that too. The vaccine is protecting you. Oh, so you mean it doesn't work? You hear that all the time.
Mhm.
And that is misinformation. Because again, remember, the science is changing, right? We know that if you're infected, you have a chance, a small chance of spreading it to somebody else, right? It doesn't mean the vaccine doesn't work. It just means that you have a little bit higher risk of spreading it to somebody else. And the best way to contain it, besides getting vaccinated, is to like mask up. And we know masks work. And this, we can argue about masks all day long with people who don't believe them. But I mean, it's just simple. It's just a freaking mask. People in countries across the world, they wear a mask on a regular basis, not even just COVID. I think
China was doing it for years, right?
right. And it's just people, I think us in America that are just all up in
Yeah.
arms about,
All of a
but
sudden
anyway,
it becomes a political thing. Like, they're
it's
taking away my
stupid.
freedom.
But
It's a little bit of protection is better than nothing.
exactly. And I think, I'm not saying people should go back into lockdown, right? I mean, if you're vaccinated, go out, live your life, but just be mindful of your surroundings. Like, I wouldn't recommend going to like a 10,000 person concert,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just exercise caution. I think that's all I would say. You can if you want to, and you take protections, but I think you should just exercise caution.
Double mask.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with you.
So,
You Blunt, there was something you wanted to bring up.
yeah, because we're talking about the Delta variant, and now we see that we have more variants out there, including this one right here. I don't know how to say that.
Lambda. Yeah.
What do you know about
You know
that?
anything about that?
Yeah, so the Lambda variant has actually been around for a while. It's not new, it's been basically for the most part, has been in Peru, and it's responsible for most of the deaths in Peru. So the Lambda variant has actually been around for a while. The only reason it started to make headlines is because recently, in the last few weeks, it was like detected in 30 countries, and now and it's in the U.S. for sure. And now there was a news article that Houston Methodist or Houston somewhere
Houston,
had found
somewhere
a
in
case.
Houston, yeah.
So it's more. There is, again, I don't like to speculate. I can only speak from the data, right? And we have very limited data on it so far. The data shows that it may be deadlier than other variants, but I don't want to say that with confidence because I don't know. I don't know. We don't have the data on that yet.
Can it mix in with the Delta? Is there such thing that could happen?
It shares a few mutations with the Delta. So the Delta and Lambda have similar mutations. One of them. There's a couple actually, which are in the spike protein. The prickly things on the surface.
Yeah.
That makes it easy. So the spike protein is what attaches to your body cells, and once it attaches, it can get in. So it has mutations in the spike protein, which makes it easier for it to enter your cell, the body cell. So it is the same thing with Delta. But the reality is this: it's not a problem to us right now. We should watch it, but it's not a problem.
Right now.
Our problem is
underline that right now.
Yes, our problem is Delta variant. That's our problem.
Right.
And again, I don't like to lose sight of the goal. The goal is to get people vaccinated, period. Right. Okay. We cannot lose sight of that, because if we do not get people vaccinated, there will be a time, there may be, I don't know if there will be, I hope not, there may be a time where a mutation happens and there is a variant that ends up being resistant to the vaccines that we have so far. And then we're back to square zero, right? Or square one. And at that point, you can have 20 booster shots. It's not going to matter, right? If it cannot target the virus, right? That makes sense, right? So the best way to get out of this is to snuff the Delta variant out of the population. And it is to get people vaccinated as much as possible. And the sad reality is you guys are seeing cases, right? Rise up. You're looking at news. If you go watch my TikTok, myself and other medical creators were warning about this from 2 months ago, that it's coming. It's coming. We saw this happen in India. We saw this happen in the UK. We saw this happen in Israel. We saw this happening in Scotland. I don't mean to be alarmist, but I was just trying to give people the reality that it's coming. And
right.
Wake up.
Well, we covered India a couple of months back when it's.
Yeah, I think I might have seen that, and it's here, right? It's already 83% of cases, and I think that you're gonna see a lot more, honestly.
I believe. I mean, not to make this a political thing, but it's mostly the states where Republicans
No, it's maybe
Republicans
it is
live.
what it is. It's a lot of the red states, right?
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
what it is. I mean, if you look at a map, you'll see it. I mean, there's no argument about that.
I think that's
You're
what the.
asking,
I think that's the reason why now you see on certain news
yeah.
channels now they saying, oh,
Hmm.
go
Yeah,
get the vaccine, because they
yeah.
realize
Ron DeSantis flipped, and Sean Hannity flipped, and I mean, again, I love the fact that they're doing it. I
right,
question their true intentions, but that's
exactly.
a that's a different
As
story.
long as they're saying the right thing now, but still you got
But
to question their intentions because they know they're losing their base. They're the ones
Hmm.
that's dying off. So
yeah.
you
Guys, I do have to head out in like 5 minutes, but I will say this, and I can answer some final questions. I will say this, there's a lot of anybody listening who's on the fence, you know, um, uh, don't listen to me. Okay. I can tell you what I know and what I've researched. Just go talk to your doctor or your primary care provider or somebody you trust in person, face to face, and talk to them about the vaccine and talk to them about why you need it. Right. And they'll tell you if you're not a candidate for it, for example, or you have a condition that you shouldn't get it for, right? But make sure you talk to somebody face to face, so then you can come to a decision for yourself and for your family, right? Don't make that decision based on what you see on the internet, right? But don't make that decision based on what I'm saying, right? My job is just to get people to think, give them the information so they can feel like, hey, listen, let me go talk to my doctor, or let me consider just getting the shot, okay? But if you're on the fence, just go talk to your doctor face to face, because it's very easy for somebody to make a video, a completely false video, and scare you away, right? So don't listen to what you see on the internet. Please just have a conversation with your physician or provider about this, because I think I believe. Listen, I am treating patients now in my hospital with COVID-19, right, that are on the ventilator. It's just sad. It shouldn't happen. This should not be happening when you have the vaccines, right? These people have gotten themselves sick because they didn't believe in the vaccine, they didn't get vaccinated, and they've gotten their parents sick and their friends sick and their children sick. I've heard multiple members of families have been sick. Like, it doesn't need to happen, right? Why are we? COVID-19 is a preventable illness. It is a preventable death, and people think, oh, why are you worried if I'm not?
uh-oh,
That's just no.
uh-oh,
That's
it's long.
his internet. Okay, you're back.
Yeah, so people say, if you're vaccinated, why do you care if I'm not vaccinated, right? And I think it is your choice, and I think you should make your own decision, obviously. But I just want people to consider that our decisions have an effect on people around us in ways that we don't even realize, right? So if you don't get vaccinated and you get it, you could spread it to your family members who might die, might spread it to somebody you meet at a conference or a meeting who might die from it. You don't even know. You end up going to the hospital. You give it to one of the doctors or nurses taking care of you because you were there with COVID, right? So our actions have consequences and have and
Mhm.
affect a lot of people.
It's
And I just
funny.
want.
Yes.
It's funny you
What's that?
said that. It's funny that you said that
Yeah.
because I had put a tweet out. I think it was this morning. I don't even remember. But I don't know if you could see that. You see that. If you're among the younger class of people who weren't approved for getting a vaccine on excuse, everyone else up to this point is responsible for their own death from this virus. So it's kind of
Yeah.
saying exactly what you're
It
saying.
is. I mean, honestly, it is. I mean, you could get it, and somebody else who has nothing to do with you, who's completely innocent, gets it
Mm-hmm.
from you and
And
then
dies.
dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard any of your patients that are on ventilators prior to going on the ventilator that have told you I should have?
Not
Now
me.
that it's too late. Because I hear stories like that where they say, "Oh, when they were almost on a deathbed, that's when they're saying, I wish I did take the vaccine." Have you?
Not on the deathbed, but they have told me like during the course of their treatment, like not just before they get put on the ventilator. But I mean,
Mhm.
I don't have a problem believing that. I mean, I've read, there was a news article that came out of the doctor from Alabama that shared her experience. I believe it. I think a lot of people, they get. Actually, there was one dude. You look it up. It's a dude in Louisiana who got admitted with COVID-19, got it pretty bad, and said that I would still not get the vaccine and I would
I was
choose.
just about to bring that up. I saw it
And
on
I
TikTok.
saw that,
I
and I'm
saw it
like,
on TikTok. He say,
I
"I'm going
mean,
home tomorrow," and they asked him, well, "Would you get the vaccine?" He said, "Absolutely not, because the government's trying to force it down you." I'm like,
Unbelievable.
he's
at
so
some
lucky to
point,
be alive right now.
the thing is, you gotta like. I wish some people could really listen to what they're saying, you know, because if this is the hill that you choose to die on, I think it's very sad that you die of a preventable condition, right?
Hmm.
I tell people like I know there's a lot of mistrust in the government. I know there's a lot of all of that, but like just try to like forget about all of that and look at the data. The undeniable reality is that the graph of that people dying from COVID-19 in the United States was going up until January, and then we started vaccinations, and then it just dropped.
Hmm.
That's you
We,
can't
we,
deny that.
we saw the sunshine at the end of the tunnel, and then it
Yeah, you
just
can't
went.
deny that, right? You can't deny the reality that 99% of people that die of COVID-19 are unvaccinated. And the fact is that it's a preventable illness at this point. If you want to take up like rise against the government, like pick some other issue. Don't use
Exactly,
this.
Exactly.
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
Doc, I know that you said you have to go.
yeah,
Any final words that you want to say
no. I just
to
wanted to say
everyone?
thank you for the opportunity, and just I hope people found some perspective and insight, and
I know
they
there's a
could just
lot more information that you
yeah,
have, and you feel free to stop by anytime
Yeah,
that you
and
want to
bring
get
bring
back
a
on.
couple of doctors with you.
That
We'll
would
yeah.
be
have a whole
great.
panel. We'll
Any
have a
more of
whole
the
panel.
influencers? Sure.
Oh,
Seriously,
please,
if you have any more influencers that want to come on, because maybe
you're
the
too
more that
kind.
the more the merry. The more information that we give out there, this show right now is being shared out. If anyone that missed it, they could see it on YouTube. It'll be there. It'll be on our page. It stays there. I'm sure you shared it out. And again, I want to thank you because you took for the opportunity to come here on our
Yeah,
show and talk about something so serious. And again, you're welcome anytime if you have any more information as time goes by that you want to share with our people here, our public. You know where to reach us. We're right on TikTok with you.
that's
Yep.
awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
I look
coming
Awesome.
on.
forward to it next time. All right, bye,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Bye bye. All right, so there
Also,
you have it, guys.
Dr. Siyab. Did I say that
That
right?
was yeah, yep,
Siyab.
yep, yep. That was very interesting. Very interesting. Wow, what a way to.
And I don't know how we could follow with that. It it's a lot of information, and folks, it's a doctor coming from a doctor. Um, People still will hear this and still feel like it's BS. Uh, it's about staying safe. It's about getting everyone as safe as possible. We don't want this Delta variant to continue taking people down. A lot of you that are probably watching have family, have friends that passed due to this variant. So think about it. Just because you might feel healthy. As a matter of fact, there was an operator in my depot today as I was leaving, and I asked him, "Hey, your mask. You don't want to wear your mask upstairs?" He's like, "I'm healthy, man. I'm not gonna get that. It's only the people that have uh, diseases or they're sickly. Those are the ones that are going to get it. I'm healthy. I know I'll be okay." And there you go. There's an operator that will probably hope not, but might get it. Come to the depot and and spread it to other people. Folks, you just got to wake up. If you're not doing it for yourself, do it for someone you love. You come home, you don't want to bring it to your family. You have children, especially elderly that you might live with, grandparents, even your parents. Uh, just think about them. Think about them, if anything else, because
Because
this is something.
this new variant, the Delta, is killing folks. Unvaccinated mostly, but it's killing
As you
folks.
heard, ninety nine
And it,
percent.
and it's also now the Lambert variant. It's another one. Like you said, it's been around for a while. I just heard about it today.
Yeah, and I
And
just
it's
heard
been
when you
around for a
brought it
while.
up.
So
Peru, South America, Peru.
and it's
Right.
here already, but it's just
Of
it's
course,
not
because
in the
people are
forefront right
traveling.
now. It's not in the forefront, but it's there. So I mean, I don't know what to tell you if you're on the fence, man. Like he said, And like I always said, talk to your doctor, talk to somebody you trust, man. Don't listen to none of this crap that's going on. All this misinformation is crazy. It's costing people lives. It's costing people lives. Go get that shot. I'm good. Don't let them sucker you. Oh, you a sheep. Okay. Bah.
Yeah, you're sheep, you're a
Bah.
lamb.
I'll be a sheep. I'll be a live
You'll
sheep.
be a live sheep.
Dead goat.
So, I mean,
Fuck out of
take
here.
this information you want, but I hope that some of you that are watching think
Nice.
about it
Matter of fact,
and get it done.
let me put his
You got
we'll
his
put his
info?
his link. I'm gonna put his link in the comments. So if you want to follow him, you can catch him on TikTok. There it
And
is.
local social media, you'll probably find other places where he may
Mm-hmm.
be at for sure.
And for those of you who want to look up the new variant, I'll put a link to that.
Lambda.
Lambda, yeah. Put the link in that in the comments, so you could go check it out yourself. Don't take our word for it.
No.
Go look it up.
No. So I guess we're done for today.
Yeah, we good, man. We
We're
good.
good. Folks, thank you for joining us. Remember, share this live. Pass the information around, especially this one. You know that Blunt did a show sometime back with two other doctors to speak of COVID. Um, if you haven't watched it, you could check it out on YouTube. You'll find it there. What were the doctors' names again?
Dr. Tannen and Eon.
And you'll find that and right on the title of the show. I don't remember what number that is, but
What's in there?
go to YouTube and you could watch that if you haven't, and then come back and watch this one along with any other show that you've missed.
Yep.
Okay, this is incredibly
Informative.
very informative. I believe I even learned something new when the doctor was talking, and I'm glad he came on. And hopefully we'll have him again at a later time, or maybe we'll have some other doctors at a
That'd be
later
cool
time.
if he brings a couple people.
Yeah, because he has a
They-
couple more influencer docs. Hey, we'll try to find more and bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Definitely.
So that's it for now, guys. We will see you again next week. We'll cover some more information unless we have another doctor in the house coming. I don't know. Or nurse. I would like to see something from inside, like a nurse, maybe see the stories that they've heard, things that they've dealt with being in the ER. But I got nothing else, Blunt.
Well, let me give you guys my quote before we go.
There we go.
Good health is not something we can buy. However, it can be extremely valuable savings account. And that is from Ann Wilson. I don't know how you say that. Shaif?
Shave?
Shaif or Shaif?
Like Schaefer?
I guess. So,
No.
there you go. That's it for today.
Guys, we'll catch you next week.
Yep.
Blunt, peace out. We good?
Fuck them if they can't take a joke.